The orbital shipyard hummed with the fury of 1,000 welding torches. Feroz wiped grease from his hands, leaving dark streaks across his worn coveralls as he surveyed the massive dreadnought suspended in the repair bay. His father had been chief mechanic here for 30 years before the accident. Now at 19, Feroz carried that legacy alone. Another long shift? Bella's voice echoed across the cavernous bay. She descended from her patrol ship, armor still scorched from the morning's skirmish with the Crethean fleet. The warrior cast an imposing figure, 7 feet of scaled muscle, wings folded against her back, eyes burning with predatory intelligence. The Draxi were humanity's greatest allies in the war, though allies felt like an inadequate word. They were warriors born, a species that had evolved in a solar system of perpetual conflict. Every Draxi learned to kill before they learned to speak. They were dragons in all but name, and they were terrifying. Just finishing the thruster realignment on Dreadnought 7, Feroz replied, offering a tired smile. Should be ready for tomorrow's offensive. Bella nodded, but her movement seemed off. The usual fluid grace was gone, replaced by something rigid, almost painful. Feroz had worked with enough Draxi pilots to recognize combat fatigue when he saw it. You okay? He asked. Fine, she snapped, then softened. Just tired. It was more than tired. Feroz had noticed it in other pilots too. The Draxi were burning out. 6 months of constant warfare had pushed even these legendary warriors to their breaking point. Command didn't seem to care or didn't know how to help. To the admirals, the Draxi were weapons, not people. Wait here, Feroz said suddenly. He disappeared into his workshop, returning moments later with a thermal blanket and a canister of hot tea. Real tea from Earth, saved from his personal rations. Bella stared at the offerings like they were alien artifacts. What is this? Rest, Feroz said simply. You need it. I am a warrior. I don't need... You're a person, he interrupted gently. And people need rest. Something shifted in Bella's expression. Slowly, she accepted the tea, wrapped herself in the blanket, and settled onto a supply crate. The fierce warrior suddenly looked small, vulnerable. Feroz returned to his work, but the silence felt heavy. On impulse, he began to hum. An old lullaby his mother had sung when he was young, before the war, before everything changed. The melody was simple, haunting, filled with the ache of memory. He didn't notice when Bella's breathing slowed, didn't see the tension drain from her shoulders. He just hummed, lost in his own thoughts until the work was done. When he finally looked up, Bella was asleep, her fearsome features peaceful for the first time since he'd known her. Word spread faster than starlight. Within a week, other Draxi began appearing in Feroz's workshop during their rest cycles. They never asked directly. Pride wouldn't allow it, but they lingered, made excuses to stay. And Feroz, understanding without needing words, would hum. Different songs for different moments. Lullabies for the exhausted. Work songs for the restless. Folk melodies that spoke of home and harvest and peace. The change was remarkable. Pilots who had been grounded for psychological breaks returned to duty. Response times improved. The Draxi fought with renewed ferocity, but also with renewed purpose. They no longer threw themselves recklessly into battle. They fought to survive, to return, to hear those strange human songs again. Command noticed. Admiral Chen herself appeared in the repair bay one evening, finding Feroz surrounded by a dozen resting Draxi warriors, all listening as he hummed while repairing a plasma coil. Mechanic Feroz, she said, and every Draxi snapped alert. I need to understand what's happening here. Feroz straightened, suddenly aware of how bizarre the scene must look. I'm just helping them rest, ma'am. You're performing a miracle, Chen replied. Our Draxi allies have been pushed beyond their limits. Psychologically, they were breaking. But this, she gestured at the peaceful warriors, this is changing everything. Bella stepped forward. Admiral, if I may, humans have a gift we Draxi lack. We evolved for war. Every instinct, every thought is battle. But humans evolved for more. You carry peace within you, even in war. These songs, they remind us that battle is not everything, that there is something worth surviving for. We have not heard singing in 7 generations, another Draxi added quietly. Our own music died with our last era of peace. We forgot what it sounded like. Admiral Chen was silent for a long moment. Then she made a decision that would echo through the war. Mechanic Feroz, you're being reassigned. Your new duty is to the Draxi wings. You'll travel with the fleet and you'll do exactly what you've been doing. But the ships will be maintained by others. This is more important. 3 months later, the tide of war shifted. The revitalized Draxi wings broke the Crethean blockade at Proxima Station. For the first time in a year, humanity and its allies pushed forward instead of holding ground. In the quiet moments between battles, on ships across the fleet, human mechanics and engineers began sharing their songs with Draxi warriors. Cultural exchange programs formed organically, born from necessity and genuine connection. Feroz stood in the observation deck of the flagship, watching the stars when Bella joined him. "There's something I need to tell you," she said. An ancient Draxi prophecy nearly forgotten. It spoke of the singers of peace in dome beings who would come in our darkest hour and remind us why we fight. We thought it meant new weapons, new tactics. We didn't understand. She placed a clawed hand on his shoulder, the gesture surprisingly gentle. It meant you, humans. Not because you're great warriors, though you are, but because you remember how to be more than warriors. You showed us that strength and gentleness are not opposites, that a lullaby can be as powerful as a battle cry. Feroz felt the weight of her words, the responsibility and honor they carried. He thought of his father who had taught him to fix things, to build instead of destroy, who had hummed while working in their small garage on Earth, never knowing those simple songs would one day help save the galaxy. "We all do what we can," Feroz said quietly. "I just hum." "And in humming," Bella replied, "you gave us back our souls." In the distance, the fleet prepared for the next jump, the next battle. But in the repair bays and ready rooms and quiet corners across 1,000 ships, the sound of human voices singing ancient melodies mingled with the prayers of warrior dragons learning, at last, to dream of peace.